Autumn morning was frowning over the houses, keeping the sunlight out of the city until the last moment. The sounds of klaxons, the roar of brakes, the shouts of peddlers taking their loads to the market, the city was unfolding in all its unsightly glory. An ordinary morning of an ordinary day in a mediocre provincial town. But for Klavdia Sargevna this day was the most unusual in her 50 years of life. However, about everything in order. The day for the general director of the firm Smirnova began as usual. A nasty squeak of the alarm clock, a mask on the face of fresh cucumber. A short lying in the warm water of the bath and coffee with a sandwich with black caviar to red allergy. What can you do? A very tight morning regimen. Everything is scheduled by the minute. After that, Klavdia Sargevna Smirnova, the firm was named after her husband, now deceased, and herself. Her favorite dressed in expensive, but absolutely tasteless clothes, and Fat Lion fluttered out of the entrance. Already approaching her expensive car, she heard someone sobbing her name. Klocka. Her own name, which always sounded strict and official, was now pronounced with such disdain and irreverence that Klavdia Sargevna was furious. Her face blushed crimson, and she turned furiously round to smite the ignoramus who had dared to address her so familiarly. But the words froze in her throat, and she opened her mouth wide, amazed. Standing before her was a shabby, gnarled hobo dressed in rags so old they looked as if they had seen the fall of the Roman Empire. Her dirty hair fell in unwashed strands over her face, covering a good half of it, but even so it was obvious that she was missing one eye. Her skin was covered with scabs and pustules. Obviously, some disease had mocked the unfortunate. The homeless woman smiled crookedly, revealing to the world the absence of teeth, and stared intently at Smirnova. Well, Klavka recognized me. I see that she recognized, there, even skewed all. Or is it from disgust at my appearance? Of course, you've become such a bimbo. You're unrecognizable, not like me. Oh, it took me a long time to find you, but I did. You must have thought I was dead. But no, I survived. The world was not without good people. Not everyone is a bastard like you. The stupor finally released Klavdia Sargevna, and, having overcome the rush of emotions, she gritted through her teeth. Give me the road, you wretch. I have no idea what you're talking about. Quickly move away, or I'll call the police. Miserable, you say. The homeless woman grinned angrily. Well, wait, soon you will realize what it means to be in my skin. She lightly touched Smirnova's hand, and she recoiled with disgust. You will look for me yourself, but only as if it was too late. Having thrown this mysterious phrase, the beggar limped away. Smirnova nervously smoked as she drove down the busy street. Of course, she recognized her. How could it be? She had died then. Had they made a mistake when they dumped her, dying, in the garbage? The events of 30 years ago flashed before her eyes like kaleidoscope figures. Klava Potapova and Rita Kolesnikova met at the technical school, where they studied accounting together. They seemed to complement each other. Rita was dazzlingly beautiful, and Klava was brilliantly clever. Here and got them such a favorable tandem. Klava solved problems for herself and for her friend, and that, in turn, took her with her to all the events to which Rita willingly called, but one, and she asked Anne for her. But soon the union of the two friends began to threaten discord in the form of Andrew Smirnov, a tall handsome man who began to court Rita. The girl reciprocated him, and everything seems to be fine, but the black envy of Klava, who also laid eyes on the handsome student. It is not known what the insidious friend undertook, but soon everyone was surprised to see that Andrew was walking with Klava, although before it, to put it mildly, did not digest it. It was rumored that Potapova bewitched Andrei, but, as you know, not caught, no thief, and observers remained only secretly sympathized with the abandoned Rita. But Klava did not calm down and planned to get rid of the rival forever, as if a black veil covered her eyes, but at that moment she did not care. She called Rita to her house, ostensibly to make up, and mercilessly hit her on the back of the head with a crystal vase, then called Andrei to help her take and hide the body. Bewitched guy without further ado agreed, and in the evening, the breathless body of Rita they threw on a large dumpster outside the city and hastily threw garbage. Nearly 30 years have passed since then. Klava married Andrei, went with him to another city, opened a firm there together with her husband and turned into Klavdia Sargevna. Except that her husband died 2 years ago, his heart failed. But Smirnova on this occasion did not worry. Andrew left her a decent fortune, having which, you could not work for the rest of your life. But Klavdia faithfully traveled to the office of the company so that the workers did not relax. Asterisk, 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 and now this thing shows up. Why did her hand shake that time? It was probably the reason Rita was still alive. What's she going to do to you? Smirnova asked herself, looking in the rearview mirror. She's a nobody, a scumbag, the dregs of society. And you are a businesswoman. Smirnova grinned and drove up to the office. At the entrance, a security guard slowed her down. Smirnova gasped with indignation. What he allows himself. Let me through, she said imperiously, but the guard gently dismissed her. Who are you here to see, citizen? His face showed disgust. Who do you think you are? You can't recognize your superiors by sight? Klavdia Sergeyevna screamed in a high-pitched voice. Fired. And the head of security is fired. For hiring sheep like you. The guard's face stretched, and he roughly pushed the woman away. Get out of here before you get your ass kicked, he hissed. You've already lost your teeth somewhere, so you'll lose something else, he cackled. And then Klavdia Sergeyevna was confused. The glass doors of the office opened, and out into the street came. Her? The guard dutifully stretched out. Misha, what do you have here? Good-naturedly inquired the owner of the firm from the guard. Yes, Klavdia Sergeyevna, some homeless woman showed up. Says that the boss and threatens to fire everyone. Misha could hardly refrain from laughing. The boss, you say? Smirnova's gaze flashed with interest at the dazed Klavdia. Smirnova Shafinia squinted her eyes. Misha, leave it. The woman is not herself, she muttered, and slipped easily down the steps. How do you like it now, you wretch? She whispered in the ear of the woman standing in a stupor and headed towards the car. Misha, I'm taking the driver today, she shouted loudly and got into the back seat. The car whistled past. Klavdia Sergeyevna turned around and raised her hand in farewell. A moment, and the car disappeared around the corner. With a sinking heart, Klavka approached the mirrored window of the office building. A homeless woman looked at her, like two drops of water similar to the one she had seen in the morning in her yard. The woman turned to her car. It was not there. Klavka clenched her fists and sobbed bitterly. Asterisk, 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 she could not return home, as she did not have the keys. They were left in the car. The whole day she wandered aimlessly around the city, not believing that this was happening to her. She had already plucked her arm, but the nightmare didn't end. The cursed Rika had taken her place in some unthinkable way, and Klava didn't know what to do now. She experienced what Rita experienced every day: humiliation, ridicule, kicks. When she tried to beg for alms, she was beaten up by some homeless people who plunked down in the area. Her broken leg was aching, and the festering boils itched terribly. Slowly, starving and thirsty, the beggar waddled towards her home. It was evening, and the false Claudia should have returned from work by now. Let her give it all back. Klavka arrived just in time. A company car was leaving her house. Klavdia Sergeyevna was walking towards the entrance. Stop, Klavka shouted, coughing. But there was no scream, only a pitiful cackle escaped from her exhausted throat. The businesswoman stopped and looked carefully at the homeless woman standing in front of her. Make everything the way it was. Put everything back the way it was, the beggar begged. Why? You deserve this life. You chose it for yourself. You and I, we were the same and both equal before God, like all people. But you chose a different path, betraying me and robbing me of everything. You hid your rotten soul in a beautiful wrapper, while I had to huddle in a stinking body, while still being a human being. But my heart was hardened to you long ago, and I found the right people to punish you for your pride. I just had to touch you, which wasn't so hard. I've invented all kinds of punishments for you. But this one is the worst, don't you think? With these words, Smirnova quickly went into the entrance. How does she know the code? Klavka foolishly thought, and tears ran down her cheeks. It was no longer important.